Well, the president of Hong Kong's Chinese University has said that he will be forced to call assistance unless all non-students leave. His warning comes amid a week of violent clashes that left the university campus resembling like a battleground, with masked protesters barricading large swaths of the premises, armed with petrol bombs, bows and arrows. At least 5 campuses have been barricaded by students and protesters. The hilly campus has turned into a fortress in just 4 days, witnessing some of the worst violence in Hong Kong. The Chinese University President, Wion, has said in an open letter that all outsiders must leave. He said, and I quote, "Universities are places to study, not to resolve political disputes." He further adds that he would seek the assistance of the pro-Beijing government. Meanwhile, a 70-year-old street cleaner hit in the head by a brick thrown by protesters died on Thursday. And on Monday, the police blamed a writer for dousing a man in petrol and setting him on fire. The victim is in a critical condition. The chief superintendent of the Hong Kong police has said, and I quote, "Rioters have turned the Chinese university into a powder keg," pointing the blame to pro-democracy protesters. And Wion's correspondent Grace Lee is now joining us live from Hong Kong for the latest on this. And Grace, firstly on the situation on the ground, what is it looking like? Campuses turning into fortresses, and we believe that in a separate case in London, a minister was also heckled and pushed around.
Yeah, so Teresa Chang, the Justice Minister of Hong Kong, was seen in a video being heckled by protesters. Eventually she falls, but it's not clear whether anyone actually touched her or pushed her, but she's injured her arm, and Beijing has called for an investigation into what happened. Cheng is hugely unpopular here in Hong Kong. She's one of the main kind of driving forces behind the extradition bill that prompted all of these protest movements. So the call for her was to kind of take responsibility for what's happening here in Hong Kong. That's what protesters were kind of shouting at her when she fell, but it's not clear whether or not she fell due to a protester touching her or pushing her. That will be investigated. As for the reaction on the ground and what's been happening here in Hong Kong, especially at the universities, it's been quite a week. It's been very violent here in Hong Kong. A lot of universities, like you said, have turned into kind of a battleground between protesters and police. Several nations have called on their university students to come back home, including China. So we're seeing a lot of international students being called back and kind of exiting Hong Kong as soon as possible as things become more and more violent here on the ground.
Right, and of course the other big issue is that the headlines from Hong Kong are also indicating that the city is in its worst recession in a decade. I mean, that's really going to hurt the residents of Hong Kong, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. That's something we've been seeing for a while here now, the impact that the protesters have been having on Hong Kong's economy. We saw Hong Kong's tourism numbers fall by about 50% in October. This recession has been a long time coming due to just horrible sales and horrible kind of output numbers that we've been seeing here in Hong Kong due to, I mean, days like today where protesters essentially bring the city to a standstill. That's been happening for the past couple of days. Things have been becoming a little bit more radical, and protesters have been kind of occupying the streets morning to night now, and so the impact will be that much larger in the next couple of days as well. So unless Hong Kong finds some kind of way out of this protest situation, it's going to continue seeing horrible numbers like that, and its economy is going to continue to bleed.
All right, Grace, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the latest there on the situation on the ground. And of course, the economy really not doing there pretty well there in Hong Kong.